Today on Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, we're talking about animal communication. Have you ever wondered if your pet is trying to tell you something? Are you curious about the messages that animals have for us? Would you like to learn how you can communicate with the animals around you? Learn about animal communicating as we continue our month focusing on living life fully. Do you control your clutter, or does your clutter control you? On Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, we'll teach you awareness as well as action steps to create change in your life. Come on, let's get started. I wanted to have this topic for a while. As you know, if you've listened a long time or watched me on Cat Mom, and the cats have helped me clear so much clutter. I also believe that they have bigger messages for us. Just like I'm learning all of this amazing, cool stuff with my plant medicine classes, animals are talking to us, not just the ones that own, or if you're a cat mom that own you, and they have messages all around us. And it's important to me seeing that bigger picture of how we're all connected. We're connected with the plants, the animals, and each other. Animals can help you clear mental clutter because they help reduce anxiety. They help us soothe our emotions. And we actually will talk about in the conversation today how they are able to take on some of our emotions and then discharge them because they don't have any ego in it. They don't have anything attached to it. They can help increase our spiritual awareness. You'll hear how I got some messages. They help us have better health, better relationships. If you are single and desire to have a relationship, consider adopting a pet. They can give you, while it's not quite at the human level, it's still, I would say it's the same. I know that not everyone would agree with that. I'm trying to think here as I talk. But my animals are my children. And someone might say to me, well, they're less than a baby. I don't agree with that. They are my babies. They have helped me through so much. I tell this story that in my horrible year, Antonio came over to me and he put one paw on my shoulder and he looked at me and I could literally feel him saying, "It's going to be okay, Mom. It's going to be okay." Now you might think I'm crazy. I don't. I really believe that that's what Antonio was saying. And in my challenging times, my cats help me. I believe they help you reduce clutter on a level. I didn't include physical clutter because I have been given a moratorium on cat trees. I have to say I'm really good. Every year I clear my clutter. Like one of my mom's caretakers is a cat person. So the next time I go up to West Virginia, I'm bringing her a cat bed. My cat, you'll hear what one of my cats wanted. And so I'm really good about that and donating to rescues and shelters. But I just didn't mention physical clutter because I honestly can't say that. They might help you if you clear more stuff, and you bring in less pet stuff. Beth and Barrett said this: our animals are spiritual beings who are on their own journey, sharing our space. They bring us joy, humor, and companionship. Animals in the wild and our beloved domestic pets all have information for us. They share our space and work to support and balance us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. What was really great is they ended up doing a reading and I said, I can't. That's like Sophie's Choice, the movie Sophie's Choice. How am I going to choose out of 5 cats who you want to pick? And so I sent pictures. All 5 came through with messages. And it was fun because Beth had never had that before. And a lot of really good stuff came through. And so I share everything. I didn't edit out any of my responses. They're in real time. You can tell that I just was blown away. This is the longest interview I've done, so I broke it down into 2 parts. Although these lovely ladies were completely game because I had sent them times I was available, and they misunderstood and thought I wanted a 4-hour interview. And the fact that they were game for that was incredible. And as I'm editing this, they're doing some rebranding. I will have their new website on YouTube and in the podcast notes. And anytime, if you can't find anything and want to connect with the guest, all you have to do is shoot me an email. If you connect with someone, I want to help facilitate that. I also wanted to add, although the conversation focused on animal communication, we did get some spiritual stuff and talk about humans as well. I'm definitely going to have the ladies back on the podcast where we'll focus on humans, but just a lot of really great wisdom also came through. So tune in. We are focused on animals, but there's a lot of good information here. Let me tell you about today's guest. Beth Mund and Barrett Stover are messengers connecting with wisdom and love from their team of guides in the afterlife. In 2016, they discovered that not only could they connect around the same spirit, but a host of spirits and angels eager to communicate. Their combined psychic and intuitive abilities opened a portal through which spiritual communication flows smoothly and rapidly. In 2019, they published their first collection of sacred letters in Living Beyond Fear, Sacred Letters from the Afterlife, giving powerful testimony to the world of spirits eager to communicate with those of us who can tune in and listen. Barrett Stover has a degree in international relations from Mount Holyoke College. Had to share that because she went to my alma mater, so we are part of the siblinghood. Having worked extensively in the international transportation logistics industry while serving on multiple boards for international and local nonprofit organizations. Beth Munn holds a master's degree in psychology and is a certified Reiki and wellness coach. Additionally, Beth communicates with animals to bring forward their messages. She's a gifted healer, working with animals to help resolve physical, emotional, and behavioral challenges. Hey everyone, I have a quick addendum before we start the interview. I had something really profound happen with Beth. I thought it was important to share it at the beginning before we even start the interview, because if you're thinking, well, I'm not into animals or pets, or I don't know how it would relate, I want to share what happened because I think it is really important. Thursday night, we had to take Athena to the emergency vet. I had to drive up 45 minutes to our old vet. I didn't know anyone around here. And I was in a panic because she was hiding where she never hid, like in the corner of the closet, then a corner of the bed. And she'd hidden before, but not all day. And then she appeared not to be eating. I put stuff out and I was frightened, quite frankly, that she was dying. This is a Sunday. We go to court on Thursday. I've been incredibly stressed. We're going to be moving next year. There's so much going on, and the cats pick up on that. But I was really terrified. And so I shot Beth a text and I said, can I pay you for a reading? Can we just do a short reading focusing on Athena? And she was kind enough to fit me in her busy schedule. And so anyway, this was Thursday night, took her to the vet. Friday, she still wasn't eating. It's so interesting how when something bad, what's the good of it? So I was like, I don't think she's eating still. I'm really concerned because a vet tech had told me improper information. And I learned this when I went to a new vet. And because she said, yeah, she should be eating back to normal by Thursday morning. Found this country doctor 15 minutes away, absolutely love him. And he ended up not charging me. And he spent 40 minutes with me. And he said, if she's not eating by normal on Monday, I think she's incredibly stressed out. I know how I get. So that ended up being the good thing. But I share this because Beth did an amazing reading. And it just reminded me how we are connected to our pets and how we are connected to our plants and how we're connected to each other and how we are all connected. We are all related. And maybe you don't have a pet, but maybe someone in your family does and you get along with that pet. Or maybe you have an affinity for saving the elephants, like as on my Groovy t-shirt. We're all connected. But I just have to say again, what Barrett and Beth do is so incredible and so amazing and so profound. Normally I share everything with you, most of it. This was incredibly personal. You'll hear some stuff in due time. And you got to listen to 5 readings with the Coraccio cat. So I think I'm doing a pretty good job of keeping it real and keeping it authentic. But I just have to say again, as much as I believe in everything, I still retain a little bit of skepticism. And I understand why I do that. That's for protection and because I've been dogged, wronged, whatever word you want to use with quote unquote spiritual people. But what Beth connected with Athena and how it related to me and how it related to Athena and me just blew me out of the water. And if you are having challenges with your pet, I really encourage checking them out, whether it's for an animal communication or a spirit communication, soul guidance. It's just wow, is all I have to say. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. And again, I'm in the deepest gratitude to Beth for fitting me in at the last possible minute, because even this new doctor, this new vet could see, I mean, he didn't charge me, which I'm grateful for, because after the ER bill we got, I was almost to the dime what it costs. And I had said, if it costs $500 and we can find out that Athena's okay, everything, I'm cool with that. So it was a little over $500. And I laughed and I said, next time I'll have to say, oh, if it's $200 to find out that the cats are okay. So anyway, really the relief and peace of mind, knowing that she's fine, we got her what she needed. And again, sit back and listen. I hope that you really enjoyed this interview. Welcome, Barrett and Beth.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So I'm really excited to talk to you about animal communication. I know that you all talk with the spirits on the other side, but we're going to focus on animals today. So talk a little bit about animal communication. Why I wanted to have you on. I'm a cat mom. We have 5 cats. They are my life. And I believe they're always trying to communicate with us. Now, I'm a cat mom, so I wait on the cats. I know dog moms, like it's a different vibe there, because I'm, the cats, I'm the servant to the cats. But how do you communicate with animals? Are you tapping into their energy? What is it? Because you can communicate with animals presently and when they've gone to the next adventure, correct?
Absolutely, yes. The animals can be here or on the other side. It does not matter. And how I tap in is a number of different ways. I tap in through my vision. They'll take me through they'll give me an image. I'll see a little recording, a little video, as if they're giving me a snapshot into like what it is they're doing. I hear them say things. In fact, when I was tapping into your cats this morning, which was such an awesome thing because I've never done that. And at first I was like, not 5 at once.
Oh.
First I was like, I'm going to, see what comes through, which cat is going to present itself to me. And then I was just like, wow, no, they're all giving me a piece. Mm-hmm. And how cool that was, because when I tap into animals, I receive what it is they want me to know. And just like when we tap into people on the other side, I trust that we receive the highest and most important information that's coming through in the moment. But when you have 5, it's like tapping into 5 people, we get all the bunches of different information. So I receive all that information. I can feel in my body what they're feeling. I can feel their sadness or their fear, and I can know things. So I really use all my gifts when I tap into any animal.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what the cat said, because Barrett and Beth were kind enough and said, oh, let's a cat. And I said, I have 5. I can't choose. You all send pictures and you all choose. Now I'm curious, because you also communicate with people on the other side. If someone's passed, has an animal been with them? Maybe if they were a cat mom in a life, then a cat showed up, or a dog or a pet. Have they showed up when you've had people, or is it completely separate? That makes sense, what I'm asking?
Absolutely. So we're connecting with people, and many times they will bring through one of their animals, or an animal will come through to speak to them, and they know, oh my goodness, it's reaffirming for them that we are indeed connecting. But the animals are always with us, whether they're here or they're past, and they're always part of our soul's journey. And Beth can kind of speak more to that, but that we have, it's not a coincidence what animals are with you or how many animals are with you.
And go ahead, Beth.
I just want to add to 2 instances. One, when we were connecting with a woman about her husband, the picture opened up wider for me, and there was her orange tabby cat from 20 years ago, not even her current pet that she was having. And she had a message to bring forward. And so they do come into our readings. And then there was a woman who I was connecting with, and her dog was at the vet, and they were going to put him to sleep because it was his time. And I was connecting with her all throughout that process. And as I could feel the moment he left his body, I could feel, I saw him wrapped in a blanket, even though he didn't go to the vet in the blanket. And the feelings changed as soon as he left his body. He was filled with joy. He felt the freedom. And then when he went to the other side, her husband's grandfather was there, and he jumped into his arms. So they do come through with our readings, and connect us, and we're all together on the other side.
I'm going to cross over a little bit, and I have longtime listeners, and they know I'm the real deal. I'm very particular about who I have on because I rarely have guests, and I just want to share with the audience that this was meant to happen. I've never met Barrett and Beth. Barrett and I went to the same college. Barrett posts for the first time in the group, and literally the day before Barrett posts about what she did, and I'm like, oh, I got to check her out. I'm super curious. I had someone for animal communication who canceled. So these ladies are meant to be here. They also obviously communicate with people. And the fact that you mentioned about you could feel the dog leaving the body. So when my grandmother died, I was super close with her. And I believe I was living in Los Angeles at the time. My brother and I were there, and we were taking a red eye that night. And that morning I talked to her, and they said, oh, her eyes popped open because she had started the process of dying. And I remember saying to her, if I'm not going to be there, then I need you to know, let me know you're okay. You've made it safely the other side. I need that for my peace of mind. So all of a sudden, feel this in my chest. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, she's leaving. She is. And again, I have no experience with this. And then 5 minutes later, we got the call, and sorry, your grandmother's passed. And we tried to call you. All the electronics were off. We couldn't get through. Everything stopped. I'm like, that's okay. That's her. I asked her to tell me in my head. I didn't verbalize it to anyone. And so I knew. So I love, and if you want to talk a little bit about that, but I love that makes me feel affirmed. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you all on is because Beth and I talked about this briefly before we started. You know, there's this fear about, oh my gosh, am I crazy? Or did my grandma come in my dream? Or I saw a dragonfly that she loved, and I see all these dragonflies daily. And I want people to know, yes, you're not insane. You're not crazy. It's legit. So talk to any of that, however you all want to answer.
So we are all connected, and there's nothing is a coincidence. So when you felt that pressure in your chest, you actually felt your grandmother, because we're tied together at our hearts, particularly that we're energy, and especially the energy that's tied together with love is powerful. And we know, Beth and I talking with people on the other side, and you know, with all that you're doing, Julie, that it transcends realms. There's no boundaries. There's no space that it can't go. But nothing is a coincidence. And there's so many messages. If we're just quiet and we stay in the present and we pay attention, you know, that we are going to see the most amazing things. And then we think, oh my goodness, my grandmother loved dragonflies. I'm seeing them everywhere, or whatever it is. And it's meant to say, yes, you are seeing them. Yes, I am here. I am here. Because Beth and I know that in speaking with so many different people that we're a spirit in a body. And when we leave this body, we are still so alive. We're free. We're free out of our body, but we're eternal, beautiful, loving spirits. And we can connect in so many different ways. Beth and I receive so much information with words, with feelings, with lyrics. I get some pieces of scripture, and then I have to go look them up. But there's, I mean, and they used our whole toolkit. And they are constantly giving us information, and they're constantly saying that we are not gone. When we pass, we are still so present. We've just changed form. And by giving you messages in all these different ways, is encouraging you to just continue that relationship, but continue it in a different way. But they're still so present.
I love that. And I love about being quiet, because I believe being present and becoming quiet allows us to open ourselves up to hear. Like, you know, the example, I don't think I talked about it in my Barrett. we might have been talking about this earlier when was sitting on the couch Friday night and I heard, go look at this, go look this up. And so I immediately did it. And now in the past, I might have said, oh, that's nothing. But when I'm quiet and I'm hearing that and honoring it and taking action instead of brushing it off and saying, oh, no. Mm-hmm. Taking action is equally as important. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I for years heard my intuition and ignored it. And, many of us do that. And it's just as important to take that action. And then we grow more confident in what we're hearing and receiving. That's how that happens.
Barrett, did you want to add something?
Yeah, no, Beth's absolutely right. You're building your muscle. So when you are getting that, and even if you think, oh my gosh, this is just, I'm making this up, it's my imagination. But when you act upon it, even if it seems, frivolous or hokey or whatever, that it actually reaffirms itself. And then your muscle, it's like working the muscle, and more and more comes. And then you gain that confidence that you are indeed in every moment, as you so beautifully said, you're receiving messages in the exact moment. And when you are quiet and attentive, you're able to hear it with clarity, and you're able to take action. And then what unfolds, as Beth and I know, is just amazing. It's full of such wonder, such possibility, and it opens you up to the truth that you're such love and such joy.
I just want to add something about relating to seeing a dragonfly or seeing a praying mantis. And it's really a way for so many of us to start opening up, to start believing, to start tapping in. That's where I started. And now, yes, I can hear them actually speak, the animals, wild and domestic. But that's where I started. And I remember saying to Spirit or whoever was around, show me a blue jay. And if I see a blue jay, then I know you're here, or I know this is a truth. And I was shown a blue jay, and in a roundabout way at first. But that is a way. And yesterday was the anniversary of my father-in-law's passing. And my husband, who doesn't normally, think about all this, I wouldn't say he doesn't buy into it completely, but he's not doing it to the extent that we are. He will always say, when there's a ladybug, then Poppy is around. And we haven't seen a ladybug in a long time. Yesterday, we were all sitting around, and there was a ladybug. And he said, Poppy's always looking out for us. So it's a wonderful way to begin tapping into, to connect with messages, whether it's your domestic, whether it's your pet, or whether it's a ladybug or anything. That's a great way to start.
So pets are communicating with us the way humans would, right? All animals, it's no different. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. They are spiritual beings inside their bodies having an experience just like we are. 100%.
Now, I briefly read your bios, because I'll tape those later. And I love that I'd love you to talk about, I want to talk about our pets that are part of our family, but animals in the wild, because I think, especially now, animals in the wild have messages for all of us, what I would call universal messages, and think they're very important. So if you'd like to talk a little bit about that, maybe if there are themes that animals have given you or in the wild, or how can we relate that to us? So if I'm out walking and see a fox, or however you want to expand on that.
Sure. Our domestic animals are having their own spiritual experience, and they're also here for us. They help, they empower us, they support us, they love us, they heal for us, they mirror for us. So they are here in so many ways for us, in addition to their own experience. Animals in the wild, what I've been told by them, by birds, I was talking to, this is going to really sound crazy, I was talking to a chipmunk yesterday, because the chipmunk kept coming up, and they usually scurry away, and they're usually afraid. And he stayed long enough for me to get a picture of him, which I have. And he was saying, so they're all here for the bigger, holding space for the grander picture, the larger picture, the healing of our earth, the the intelligence to happen. They're all part of the whole. And so it's interesting when we come upon a wild animal versus our domestic. There is a message for us. A lot of times birds will give me messages. Sometimes it's personal. I was tapping into that the birds were mad at me, and it was so funny. And I told my husband, and he's laughing at me. He's like, do you really think they're mad at you? And I was like, yeah, I know I could be like, I could be, I'm very empathic, so I can tap into and feel so much of what people are feeling. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I could be projecting that, but I don't think so. And then of course, when I was talking to someone else who's very in tune with the animals, she said, they are mad at you. Why don't you tap into why? And then I received the information from them that I wasn't feeding them in my bird feeder throughout the winter because in New Jersey, it's cold, and I wasn't thinking that there are birds that are around throughout the winter. And if you start feeding them, you need to continue feeding them. So they can interact with you on a personal level, but for the most part, the chipmunk told me he's a place card. He's a part of the whole. He knows he's food for other people. He knows his place. And the birds are overseeing so much. And think about, if you think about what they do, the animals, that speaks to what their role is and how they, hold the space for all of us. And birds are overseers of the big picture. They're flying up above. They're having that bird's eye view.
Now that brings another question. I want to look at animals and humans, because I think there's a relationship here, and hopefully I can say this correctly. So one of the challenges for me, I'm allergic to animals. Met a guy that had a cat. Guess what? No allergies. So I think technically I had allergy tests. I'm super allergic to cats. We now have 5, but I'm like, it's all good. I'm meant to be a cat mom. But one of the challenges for me here, for example, in North Carolina, we have the 3rd highest rate of euthanasia of cats and dogs. And that breaks my heart. Or when I see that a dog has been left out in the heat now, it just is heartbreaking. And so I'm curious if it's the same thing. They see it as is it part of a greater plan to get us to awaken maybe to compassion, or to realize these are sentient beings, they are having an experience? And then the parallel with humans, like for example, coronavirus that's going on now, was this a group thing? Like I always wonder when large number like 9/11, when something like that happens, is there part of hey, I came here, this is part of the life lesson I want to experience, and a bunch of us are going to die to maybe raise the vibration? I might be completely off here, but is that making sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, absolutely. Beth can speak more, to the animals, because she's the one who's tapping in so beautifully. But we're also connected, and so our animals are mirrors for us. So when we see these situations, it's a reflection of us. It's an outpicturing of what is going on in the planet, but also what is going on within the individual. And it makes you like listen and kind of look inward and say, why is this resonating with me? And maybe, kind of reflecting on that fully for our own growth. But we know that what we see outside, what is outpictured out around us, is what is within us, and vice versa. And we know that what our thoughts are, what our feelings and our thoughts create what we see around us, in our animals, in nature, and in our relationships. And so to be conscious of what you're feeling, because your feelings are impacting your thoughts, and to be conscious of your thoughts because they're impacting your feelings. They're also interconnected. But both of those together is what you are creating from. And it's the one thing you can control is your thoughts and your feelings. We can't control so much going on in the world, but we can all control what we're thinking. And our animals are just a beautiful way to help us to remember the love that we are, and to remember how we're thinking, and to be conscious of that, because that is where we're creating what is unfolding around us.
And I can help answer the question relating to the animals. One of the toughest questions that people always ask is centered around that question, and animals and people who are vegetarians and vegans, is it okay that other people are eating animals? And when I first began connecting, I even had a hard time with animals who were show dogs, because I thought, no, they're supposed to have fun and they're not supposed to do that. And then a dog came through and said, like, this is my job. Like, I came here to do this. I love doing this. Like, this is what I'm here to do, and was proud of it. And the animals they all have jobs, just like we have our missions and our jobs. They all have jobs. And yes, some of them are to look cute and cuddly and play and to bring that love out from us. And that's their job. And some of them are to be a show dog and they're proud of it. And some of animals know they come here to be food for other animals. And there's no suffering around that. And, it's hard for us because we have emotions about it. And one of the struggles remains when man or human is actually acting unconsciously, because we can co-create and we can create an environment that 100% needs to be humane. And that is where we need to have our focus and make changes, because we're always co-creating. We can do much better. And yes, there are animals that come here to help promote change, and that can require being euthanized, but it's always to draw attention. It's always to promote change, but that is their role, just like we come through. Humans can come through with that role also.
That's both beautifully said. One of the reasons why I want to have you all on is because I had talked to volunteer with the rescue and was trying to get some college kids to do some free, who are in marketing, to do free stuff. And I was talking to the professor, and she talked about in her own family is trying to create this broader understanding and knowledge. The animals feel, they think, they're not at our, and I don't want to say level, because that implies we're better, and I don't believe that, but that, there's this disconnect, like it's something other. There's not the connection, and that's why I want to have you on. No, they're thinking, they're feeling, and doing all that.
Oh, absolutely. It's that feeling of separation. That's one of the biggest things in our world, is that we separate ourselves from humans to animals, right? But we also separate ourselves from one another, and we separate ourselves from ourselves. And so it's that speaking to that separation, that is not the truth. And that we are so interconnected. And as Beth beautifully said, we all have our soul journey. We all have our role to play in this miraculous, majestic, amazing, wondrous universe. And it is in honoring our animals, in honoring one another, and in honoring ourselves, that we can come into our truest expression and be the truth of who we are, so that we are fully present, we are fully conscious, and that we can receive all those gifts, because they're all interconnected. And so what you were speaking to, Julie, is like when you think we're higher than lower, than animals, it's not the truth, because no one's higher or lower. But we're all in this together, but we all are honoring our own specific piece in this amazing mosaic of puzzle piece. We each have our puzzle piece that fits in beautifully. But when we aren't present, it doesn't hold the whole puzzle together, right? And the animals are just as much a part of that as humans are. And it speaks to know, to be conscious and say, we are not separate. And it's when we come into that consciousness that we can take in the teachings that our animals are giving. We can take in the inspiration that their animals give us. We can take in the beauty and the joy and the remembering and reminder of the wonder that we each are, as all of us, as Beth said, are spiritual beings. We've incarnated into a human form, they've incarnated into an animal form, but they're all spiritual beings to be honored and to be realized and honored as a gift to one another.
I agree with that 1,000%. You said it much better than I did, so thank you. I appreciate that. Are you always comparing yourself? How are you not honoring yourself? Do you spend time gossiping? Would you like to share your gifts with the world? Get control of your clutter so your clutter doesn't control you. Reclaim time, money, sanity, and resources. Spiritual Got Clutter 365 journal prompt supports you in clearing your spiritual clutter. Free gift with purchase to support you even more in your journey to declutter your life. I'd like you to, have you found, Beth talked to animals and Barrett will, if you want to talk to humans, have you found common themes? Like obviously, if you, like when you have talked to my cats, you're going to have specifics that the kitties are saying, but have you found overall themes maybe that keep coming up when you do this? Like the animals are maybe saying, you know, like you talk, like separate less, love more, honor yourself. Are there themes that you've found?
One of the things with the animals, the huge theme is about loving ourselves. That's been a huge theme with them. And they're helping us above everything else. Like they work in the specifics of like struggles we're going through, but then the bottom line is loving ourselves. My dogs are consistently trying to get me out of my mind, you know, and they're doing that by coming up to me at the moment when I am just going over and over and trying to perfect something I'm writing. My Bella will come up to me and nudge me every single time. And so they work in the specifics of like the day-to-day, but the bottom theme has always been about love, about self-love. And the way we feel towards our animals is what they're mirroring back to us, the way we're meant to feel about ourselves. And I was told that from an animal. And you know, I'll talk about other specifics that they have, but those are the themes that have come through.
Wonderful. And Barrett, what have you found for the humans?
Well, Beth connects with humans. But she has a particularly gifted in animals too, but she does both. So exactly what Beth said, you know, it all comes down to love, that we are all created from the same source, which is love. And we're all in this experience. We've all come into this earthly planet, not remembering why we came, right? That we've had like soul contracts with one another, or with people, with one another, and with animals. And so it is just remembering, and it's returning to our love, returning to the wholeness, remembering that, returning and knowing, like we spoke earlier, that there is no separation, and that we are love. And then, you know, when we know that there's no negotiation, as we say, as Beth and I say, you are love, you know, you are worthy, and you are not separate. So, all right. So those are already, there's nothing to negotiate about those. Those are the truth. So when you stand in those pillars of truth, then you can have fun in this life. You can have fun with your thoughts and your feelings, to express yourself, to be who you are. We're all so unique. We're each of us. You know, I always say to Beth, you know, I'm a twin, I have twins. And I always love that Oscar Wilde, you know, just be yourself. Everyone else is taken. And it's so true. Like if we can just allow ourselves to be the fullest expression of ourselves and to honor all of it, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, you know, and to go enjoy, and to know that we are, as Beth and I say, we are perfectly imperfect, right? And to just release the doubts, release the judgment, release the fears, because we are told over and over from the other side, they're not true. And don't chase that fear, you know, because what we give our attention to, our energy goes. So when we chase fear or doubt or judgment, well, that's what we're going to see. What we give out, we're going to see. So, and the beauty about the animals, and Beth taps in so amazing too, all their stories. You know, I just laugh at all. You know, Beth is profound. She can bring through word for word full letters that are pages of letters that they are channeling through automatic writing through her. Whether it's a person, whether it's an angel, whether it is an animal, and this is what we call the sacred letters that Beth and I, you know, are doing. But I'm just, so she'll share with me, like Chippy the Chipmunk just came through the other day. The personalities are they're so quirky. They're so priceless. They're priceless, but they're also giving messages. And it's the messages It's those messages of love at the end of the day.
That's wonderful. I love you and I are, you both and I are on the same path and same wavelength, because I often say you're good enough, you're worthy enough, and you're loved no matter what. I say I'm perfectly perfect all the time. And I think it's so important for people to hear it. And one of the reasons I do this podcast is because someone might not have that person in their life reminding them of that. And we all have our gifts to share with the world, whether you're a janitor, whether you're a CEO, whether you clear clutter, whether you get messages from the other side, we all have our gifts. And when we share our gifts, that gives other people permission and show, hey, it can be done, and it allows them to do that as well. And I think that's so important.
And isn't that what our animals do for us? You know, we walk in the house, you know, well, especially with dogs, but even our cats, they love us for who we are. They do not, you know, judge us. And I have a t-shirt that says, be the person your dog thinks you are.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they love us unconditionally. And they're doing that for us. They're a wonderful mirror. And if we could tap in and love one another and love ourselves in the same way.
All right. Well, can we get messages from the cats? I'm dying to know, because I've been saying, oh, I would share that about the cat, but no, I want to hear what she has to say first. And because I legit believe in what you all do. I've now found new animal communicators, so I'm excited. But go ahead. What I would love, and again, I want everyone listening to know, you know, I keep it real. They've never met me. We've known each other not even a week, because it was a random encounter in a Facebook group. So what do the Coraccio cats have to say?
Well, like I said earlier, to be able to have the experience, it felt to me like they were each giving me a piece of what their life is like and what your experience has been like, because they're mirrors for us. And I started to realize, it was a new experience for me. I started to realize, wow, this is neat, because I'm getting bits and pieces of, it's just like mirroring back bits and pieces of who we are, because we, you know, in our animals, it's mirrored back, and we all have different parts of ourselves, right? Sometimes, you know, we have a loving side, and sometimes we're going through a struggle with a relationship, and sometimes, you know, we're all different. And so to have 5 cats be giving me different pieces, of course, they're always teaching, and of course I realized, wow, this is just exactly like what I was thinking about this week. There's no coincidences, how there's different parts inside of me, and here they are, you know, sharing that. So I will just, what I can do is go through some of what I've received, and you know, I have no ego in this. And so sometimes I will bring something up, and I may not know exactly why they're showing me that. And that's for you to say, no, that doesn't sound right, but maybe it's, you know, maybe it's this, because I receive exact examples. Sometimes I receive something that's more metaphoric. So I consider this a conversation, and I will share, and
I'm pretty much straightforward on the podcast. I share all my trials and tribulations. And as I always say, I'm not a guru. Present myself out there. I'm not perfect. And hopefully you'll learn from my mistakes. So I'm open.
Okay, wonderful. And so I'm going to, you know, there might be some questions also.
Sure.
Something that has come through, so that I will address for you. So Antonio was the first who I connected with. He seems like the head honcho of the group.
He loves everyone. He is the most social and outgoing of the cat. Like if you come in, the other 4 are going to say, Antonio, let me sniff you. Do you love me? Yes. So I'm not surprised by that. Be like, yes, let me go first.
And he knows it. Like he knows it, and there's a confidence about him, and he likes to mix it up. Sometimes he was showing me that he will play and then get them all riled up, and then walk outside and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, like, you know, I wasn't even a part of that. Does that sound like him?
Yes, unfortunately. And I've tried to talk to him, but like everyone else in my life, they don't pay attention to me. So yes, that is Antonio.
Okay, so he's very, I love him. And I just love it, all the quirkiness of all of us, humans or animals.
Yes.
So I don't have any judgment about any of this. And in fact, he was making me laugh. And he's like, he would round up and be like, well, don't blame me, like that. I wasn't involved in that, when he is. For instance, even so, and I just want to relate for a second back to one of your questions is, when I was starting to connect with them, my dogs started rallying themselves up. They were jealous. They were causing me to not be able to focus and concentrate. So yes, our animals are all feeling, and I'll talk a little bit later about how we can tap into it if we're not seeing ourselves as an animal communicator. But I was laughing, and it was in the middle of me connecting with Antonio, and he goes, I just have to say some of the lines up here because they're so funny. He said, don't mind me. I'll just sit here and mind my own business. I have nowhere else to be. Like, he was like, that's okay. I'll just almost like, I'll just sit and read the paper while you take care of that stuff. If that's
my Antonio.
Yeah. So, and he was also bringing forward some information. I don't know what this is about. Okay, so he's a bit of a teaser sometimes. He let me know. He might tease his sisters, is what he was saying. He brought me up a recognition of something that has to do with praying. Now, this could be something that he's doing. I've never heard this before from an animal. It doesn't mean that it's not happening. So he was leading me to believe that he was doing something on a bigger level, that he was, doing some sort of praying. It could be for you, it could be on a larger scale, but there's something involved with that with him. And almost it could be because the story Animal Farm, and it's no coincidence that Bear and I were just talking about this week. And it's like he's holding the leader and he's helping others in a way that we have no idea about, bringing about changes. And I can almost see him holding a meeting like that, if that.
One thing that I will say to the cats often, because I talk to them all the time, is if it's a hot day, let's pray for all the animals that are outside, or pray for the animals that don't have a mommy and daddy, or pray that they get adopted, and I know it's mommy and daddy aren't perfect, but grateful that we are safe and have food and all that. So I say that a lot to the animals, like, let's think about the others that don't have so much. And, the great story with Antonio, so I volunteered briefly. I mean, there are days that I like cats much more than humans. And so I volunteered at the local animal shelter and almost immediately met Antonio. And my husband said, we only had one cat. We only had Joey, and Joey was Antonio, or was my husband's cat. And so I held him once and it was over. And he's the only one we didn't change the name. They had just named him Antonio. You could tell it was a last minute thing, but fit him. And it was like the connection. As soon as I snuggled with him, I'm like, you're coming, you're our cat.
That's absolutely.
And I will tell him that story often. I'll be like, do you remember when we met?
Yeah, well, he is hearing you about praying and he's doing it. Good. And it's working. He wants you to know that it's working. And that's why he brought that up. And that's why he was showing me himself in like a leadership role. And that's part of the reasons why you connected, because your heart and his connection, and he is connected, and that is part of your soul contract together and what you're here to do. And so I'm so glad he brought that up, because I want you to know that he's affirming that all you're doing.
Thank you, because that's something I try to do often.
Which is beautiful. And it also speaks to, even what Barrett was talking about, that, we don't have to be on the bottom, out in the front of the line, the front line, marching, whatever. We can do so much from our personal space in order to help heal the world and in order to help others. We have no idea what that impact can be, but that is powerful.
Thank you for sharing that, because one of my frustrations is someone once said to me, you're not out there fighting on Facebook. And I'm like, because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be from love, continue to raise my vibration. And if I say something, I try really hard to say it from a place of love and from a place where I think people can hear it. And if I raise my vibration, it has an effect on everything else.
100%. And he is affirming that. Like, yes, that's exactly right. Exactly right. That's exactly the way it works. And you're 100% correct in that. And I abide by that as well. And there's no reason to ever feel guilty, because some of us are meant to be down in the ditches. Some of us are not. Some of us are meant to be rescuing animals and going to, adoptive events, and some of us are not. And we have to tap into, and Bear and I were talking about this morning, we have to tap into what we're here to do, what our gifts were. Guilt, there's no place for guilt. I've experienced it. I have continued to heal from it, but it really is, there's no reason for it. And I say this with love, not with judgment. There's no reason for it, because we're not meant to do everything. And that's part of opening up to our gifts and what we're here to do, that Bear and I always like to help people with. So I don't want to leave out the other one. So
but that you were spot on with Antonio, and he is a little instigator, stinky butt, he does that. He chases them.
Yep, exactly. It made me laugh, but I'm not dealing with him every day.
You're not dealing with it every single day.
Yeah. But just know he's doing so much more. So I don't know if
that'll help. That'll help. Take actions from today's podcast. Be open to hearing from your animals. Be curious about messages from wildlife. Accept your animals as they are. Recognize animals have feelings and thoughts. Listen to part 2 of the interview. On our next episode, we're hearing more from the Coraccio cats and having part 2 of our interview on animal communication. Go out, clear your clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire. When you clear your clutter, you can share your gifts with the world. Sign up for our free newsletter at reawakenyourbrilliance.com. If you've enjoyed Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, please rate, review, and share us.